Hey, y'all. Welcome to today's live workshop. Today, we're going to be talking about how you create content that stands out in a universe of, recycled SEO content, AI generated drivel, and all of the other madness that we have been experiencing over the last year plus. And we're going to be zooming in on one specific type of content that I think is intimidating to a lot of folks, but it can be hugely valuable to your brand, both in terms of creating original content, building links, driving traffic, generating leads. It's sort of cross cuts all the different goals that you might have within your content marketing strategy. So we're going to be talking about the original research process. Our guest today is Nneka Otika. She's the co-founder of Influence Alchemy, and she's going to be sharing with us her process for conducting original research for your brand and then publishing that original research report, reusing that as part of your content strategy. I'm really excited to get into this. It's something that I've personally sort of dabbled in the past, but haven't had a chance to really do a deep dive on it. So I'm really excited to learn from Nneka today and her process. Before we get started, a couple of quick things. Number one, if you've not already, please hit the like button on this video here. It's going to help other folks find our content, discover this process, and learn along with us. Number two, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are, I think, 5 subscribers away from the coveted 1,000 subscribers. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We host every month. We have live workshops, live Q&As, roundtable discussions, all kinds of great stuff focused on content marketing, SEO, really just to help you level up, learn new skills, gain insight into what the heck is going on in the world of content and SEO. So hit that subscribe button, join us for future sessions. And if you really want to stay in the know about our upcoming content and learn and grow with a really cool group of folks, then I'd like to invite you to become a member of Top of the Funnel. So Top of the Funnel is a free Slack community. It's focused on the intersection between content marketing and SEO. And we've got almost, I think we're creeping towards 3,000 members at this point, which is crazy to me. But we have, freelance folks, agency owners, in-house marketers, all kinds of folks in there who live and work in the space of content marketing and SEO. There's Q&As, there's people sharing links and updates and news, there's work opportunities, there's just general discussions about everyday life and music and all kinds of cool stuff going on in there. So join us inside Top of the Funnel, yesoptimist.com/tofu. Again, it's a free Slack community, so all you have to do is fill out the form to join. And yeah, we'd love to have you as part of our community. You'll stay up to date on all of our upcoming live sessions with more amazing guests like our guest today, Nneka, who's going to be leading this discussion. So join us there, yesoptimist.com/tofu. All right. With all that out of the way, let's talk about today's session. As I mentioned already, Nneka Otika is our guest today. She is the co-founder of Influence Alchemy, and she's going to be sharing her process for creating and publishing original research reports.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey, welcome, Nneka. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Awesome. Well, like we were talking about before, I'm really excited to learn right along with everyone today, because I think this is one of those things where it's so intimidating. Creating an original piece of research. I think everybody wishes they could do it, but it feels like a long and difficult and challenging process.
Yes, and the resources are not we don't have step-by-step resources. So it's like you have to go in blind. And so, yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Well, I'm excited to dive in. Before we get started, a real quick note for everyone on the live stream today. Number one, Nneka does have some time slotted in throughout the session for questions. So if you have questions as we're going through things, drop those in the chat. We'll try to get to those either during those Q&A periods throughout the session, or at the end, if we have time, we'll take additional questions then. Number two, there's been a little bit of some connectivity issues so far. So if there's some problems or things get cut out or anything, first of all, just let us know in the chat so we can make sure to resolve it. And secondly, just bear with us, and we'll take a step back and kind of repeat things as needed. So With all that out of the way, Nneka, are we ready to get started?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, show us the way.
Awesome. So let's go to the next slide. Hold on. Let me go to the next slide. Awesome. So this is the original research process. Like, this is an overview of what you can expect from finding topics, planning and project management. If you're doing survey-based research, the next one will be respondent strategy, creating the questions, distribution strategy, data analysis, the report writing and design, and finally, like using all that, the report itself to power your content marketing, to get those backlinks, to get the traffic, and to drive signups, revenue, and all that. So this is the first thing we start with. Then let's go to like the first one, which is like researching your, like finding what has been done in your industry, right? So the thing is, to find a topic, you have to know what has been done, because knowing what has been done presents an opportunity for you to find a topic to research. So words like state of the industry, industry statistics. So you put in your say like content marketing statistics, blogging statistics. So this way you kind of like see what other people have done. Then that can present you like the opportunity to like see. So in the report I did for Office Otter, I basically used this method. All the examples I saw, the reports I saw were like salary from like Robert Half and a few other places. And I didn't see anything talking about job satisfaction, employee recognition and stuff. So it was like very disjointed. So instead of doing like focusing on one area, I decided to do like an overview research, basically like state of the industry, right? So once you have identified this opportunity, right, the next thing you want to do is ideate. Depending on your industry, it can be very difficult. Like if you want to do any original research in content marketing, you're going to have a very, very tough time compared to like other industries, because content marketing is like everybody and their dads do original research. So finding a topic is quite hard here. So the next thing you want to do is ideate. So what's missing in the reports you found, right? What's the opportunity here? So if people have covered salary, if people have covered certifications, a general, that is where you find the opportunity for a topic. So, like I said in my case, I found.
Sorry to interrupt. Yes. I think we lost you there for just a second. Can we go back? So you were saying, if people already have covered, for instance, salary or certifications, then blank.
Yeah, then you can then look at what else is missing, right? If everybody has covered this and it's disjointed, you can do like a general one to cover like everything, right? So that's the idea, like what has been covered. Finding out what has been covered tells you, okay, this is what is missing and this is what I can cover, right? Now, if you're doing this in-house, right, you need to document this. You need to like document what is going on. Like, okay, this topic, I have this topic. What is my business trying to achieve? Because right from the beginning, you need to tie it in, right? So for at Office Otter, they wanted, I want my company to be a thought leader. I want to drive revenue. I want us to get backlinks, right? I want to drive traffic. They have so many things, right? So I realized that I could tie this one content asset into like these different goals. And so that made it very important, because if your leadership is not on board yet, right? When you present this to them, they're going to ask you, okay, so how is this going to move the needle for us? So by putting this in the middle of when you are ideating your topic, right, you're able to like have these reasons and you can counter any objections. And when you're documenting research? What will our research, when you're documenting your process, ask yourself, what will our research be on? Who will we survey if we're doing surveys and things like that? So these little ideas, you can go to management with the beginnings of like a plan, but like it's a very solid plan. So that way you don't have like a lot of pushback when you begin to like ask for budgets, because this is a budget intensive process. So once you've done all this, like I said at Office Otter, once you've done all the documentation, tied to company goals. And one of the things I even wanted to point out, sometimes like some people want to like just do thought leadership with this. For example, if you look at Buffer does like the remote state of remote work, right? Which is kind of a bit far away from like social media that is their core product. But like when it comes to remote work, you always go to Buffer, which is like it's somehow tied into their remote first company. So it has to tie into what your company is doing. That's like the only way I know to avoid pushback. So next thing, we go to planning. To begin anything, marketers, we are all planners. So what do? So first step is, like I said, get buy-in. By tying this content asset into business goals, it's so much easier to get leadership on board, and to get the budget you need to do this well. Because my time, we did this in-house for $5,000. When you outsource research to like an outside company, you're looking at $15,000 at the minimum. So it's like, and it can go higher. That's like the minimum you will see. So it was like, okay, how do we get like that budget from management? So having this tied to business goal makes it so much easier to like, tell them this is what we want to do. Next thing you want to do is what kind of research do you want to do? Because like there's like so many types, right? You can do survey-based research, whereby like you survey a group of people, present that data. You can do internal benchmark research, right? So internal benchmark, an example is Dream Data. Dream Data looked at their customers, how they use their software, what they achieved, and they put this into a report, analyze that and put it into a report. You can even do a report using publicly available data. So I think many of you know Camille Trent. She's at Peer Signal now. I think a few months ago, they did a report by analyzing SaaS homepages. DataBox did a report where they requested demos for 400 different SaaS products, then documented their process, how long it took, how good the form was, and stuff like that. So there are so many things you can do. And then the next thing, after you've done all that, is if you're doing survey-based research, who will you survey? So most people tend to default to surveying their audience, which is what I did. But sometimes you may have to survey like your audience's customer, right? Like Klaviyo has an SMS marketing report, in which case they surveyed consumers. And most people that use these consumers are people that Klaviyo's customers, they're Klaviyo's customers, basically. So it depends. Or you can do like full story, and you can survey like the people that like hold the purse strings, right? Not your users directly, but you're surveying your users, but your end readers are the CMOs that hold the purse strings to buying your tool. So there are different people that you can survey different people. So in this case, I'm just going to use an example of surveying like your audience that you already have a relationship with. So who is your point person? Now, this one is for people that work in really big teams. Like I mentioned to Tyler before, like I worked with, consulted a team where they were having some issues with spam in their responses, their survey responses. So this one, the company is big. I think over 600 employees, right? And one of the latest things they had was the CMO kept getting involved, because the CEO will ask, and then she will like get involved. So having a point person, which I advise, kind of helped reduce interference. But at Office Otter, when it was just marketing team of 2, right? We're like less than 10 employees. It was so much easier to do without so much interference. But when you have like a very large scale, you want to like have a point person who would like, you can share all the informations and things, and then they can go to like the CMO and the C-suite to contact this person for for information. So nobody delays your process, because the process has to like go from one thing to the other. So this is a way to like avoid all that. Then the next thing we are going to look at is tools and software. For example, the average marketing tool stack does not have a survey-based tool, you know. So it's like, are you going to like use a free tool like Google Forms, Airtable, right? Are you going to pay for SurveyMonkey? Are you going to pay for something like Alchema? So these are things you can consider, like, okay, are you going to use Canva or hire a graphic designer? There are like so many things like that. So different tools that you can use for this process, you know. And again, you can also look for like, okay, what software will you use for analysis and things like that. So looking at the tools you need, you can begin to like have like an idea of your budget. Let's work that into our budget. So again, budget. Now, so how much will this process cost? Like I said, if you're outsourcing, you're looking at 15,000 minimum, right? If you're doing it in-house, it's going to be cheaper because you probably already work with like a graphic designer, a writer. Even if you don't have a data person, you can outsource that. So you need to like factor this in. Are you going to like okay, since you're doing survey-based research, are you going to like incentivize your responses? How much would that cost? If you're doing gift cards, how many gift cards do we want to give away? You know, things like that. Is there anything is outsourcing more expensive in the long run? Can we get a cost for, like, say you have a writer that doesn't know how to write, that has never written a research report before? Do we get a cost so they can upskill? You know, can we get like a data analysis cost for someone on the team to upskill? So these are things you have to consider and pay for. Because like in my case at Office Otter, we've never written a survey before, so we had to take a course, and that came out of our 5,000 budget. So these are things you have to think about, you know. Then you go on to who does what, which is like one of the final things. So my advice here is to like use the strengths of the team. If you have someone that does your community management and stuff like that, when it comes to distribution, they can be a very great asset in distributing the survey in the communities they are part of, you know. If you have a social media person, so use everybody's strength for this. If you have a content team, use everybody's strength, like they can help in writing questions. So use each person's strength. Is your content person really good with visuals? They can help you save money with using Canva to design your reports, just to like save some money. So it all depends. Again, nailing down who can do what can kind of like keep your costs down. And again, knowing that your content team has other priorities and other duties outside of doing this report, you can also decide to outsource, so that your team can have breathing room to fulfill their other duties, because this process is like a marathon, not a sprint. So those are things you can consider. Then we move on to project management. So like the process is long, so you have to like break individual areas. So for example, writing your survey, right? There are so many things that go into it, so you have to break down into steps. And then you have to assign these steps to individual members of your team, you know. And another thing, to keep things going well, you also have to assign deadlines and timelines. Same thing if you're outsourcing the help. So for example, for us, we outsourced, the only thing we outsourced was the analysis, part of the analysis, right? So you have to like, okay, this is how long this is going to take. This is how long this is going to take. So if you have like 2 to 4 weeks for your survey to run, what are you doing next? So having tight deadlines for everything is going to be very important. And another thing you can also do is your meeting. You have to work in like update and status meeting, right? Updates, progress meetings, and you also have to include the point person. And please document your process as you go. So that way management is not reaching down on your neck with, okay, so what's going on? And again, this process I have outlined is not it's not linear, right? Some things can happen concurrently. I've just tried to like break down the process to be linear as I explain. So this is one of my first breaks to like talk about what's it called? Talk about get questions. Any
Yes.
question?
Yeah, so we had a few questions pop up in the chat. So first of all, if you have questions for Nneka at this point, please post those in the chat. While we're pulling those questions, I had a quick question, which is just, can you so you mentioned sort of the individual tasks here. Can you just give us a sample of like what those tasks might be or what they have been in your experience?
Okay, so for example, I was in charge of like writing survey questions. My coworker was in charge of like designing the survey. You know, I was in charge of like writing survey questions. She was in charge of creating links, right? Creating links for the partners we used, so we know which partners gave us the links, where our responses were coming from. I did the copy for the different partners. She did the design to go with the copy. So things like that, right? So each person knows what they are doing at each stage and when they need to like deliver this.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go to the chat here really quick. So I want to address this question because Sean, you're asking about, do you have any tips for using generative AI for research? So first of all, I think that the premise of this question is not quite what we're talking about today, right? So we're talking about conducting, your own research, not like researching a topic and trying to use AI to do it. But that being said, it raises a good question, which is, Nneka, did you use generative AI or AI in any way throughout your process?
No, I didn't use AI during this process. Though I think you could. There are definitely avenues for AI to help with this. For example, if you're not very good at design, for example, you can actually like use prompts to create some designs for your for visualizing your data. So there are still ways to do this, but like that requires you like trying it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I can imagine too that AI could potentially be useful in like the data analysis portion, for instance, or anything like that, where it's good at
Yes.
basic like sort of computational things, or even just like brainstorming ideas for questions or something like that.
Yes.
Cool. And then Sean actually had another question, which is a list of tools. So in the last slide, you referenced, kind of figuring out your tool stack. I don't know if you have a list anywhere in this presentation, or if you want to list it now, or we can just wait till the end if you want to come back.
Okay, so I can list it now. So first of all, you need a survey tool, right? Now the thing is, like the thing with survey tools is that if you use a free one, you have to get a different tool for analysis, right? But if you use a survey tool, like say you pay for SurveyMonkey, they give you like things like skip logic, whereby if somebody goes no, they don't see the next question. They see a different question. So when somebody says yes, you get what I mean? That's like skip logic. And then they also help you do like analysis. You can do analysis directly in the tool. So in order to like so a big chunk of our about 5,000 went to the tool, but we didn't use SurveyMonkey. We used Alchema. That was our survey tool. Then the rest of our stuff we did of our analysis we did in Google Sheets. So you have most of the tools. We did Google Sheets, and then for our design we did Canva. For the writing we did in Google Docs with grammar tools like Grammarly and stuff like that. So all these things, like we kept our tool stack very lean. So you can, if you have like a data analyst on your team, you can just like get your stuff, pass it on, and they would like tell you, okay, this is what we can talk about. This is what we can talk about in your listen. But like for us, it was just the survey tool, the Canva, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and spell checkers like Lamare and the rest.
Great. And I'm sorry, can you say again one more time the name of the tool that you all use, the survey tool?
I use Alchema, Alchema. like yeah, but like SurveyMonkey does the same thing. You can get SurveyMonkey, like if you're doing more surveys, it will make sense to like pay for a paid plan on SurveyMonkey because it can kind of do some of the things. But if you're not like doing but you have to do surveys often, you know, to like get the most out of like that payment, because it's like it makes sense to pay for a year. I think it's about 8,200. So these are things to consider.
Got it. And I just posted the link to that Alchemer in
okay
in the chat as well. So if y'all are interested in finding out that tool, there you go. Great. Looks like we don't have any other questions at the moment in the chat. So I think if you want to proceed.
Awesome. Okay, so the next thing we're doing is survey and respondent and survey strategy. Like one of the things I think content marketers would love about this process is how much strategy is involved. And I feel like you feel like, oh yeah, this is your natural habitat. So the process wouldn't really scare you so much. So once you've assigned like tasks to everybody, the next thing to do is like, where will you distribute the survey? So here's the thing, depending on who you're surveying, who your audience is, you can decide to do it yourself. If you're surveying your own customers, it doesn't make sense to go look for a panel company, right? So a panel company is like one of these companies that aggregate audiences that you can directly survey, right? SurveyMonkey has an audience research arm where you can find this, but this increases your budget like exponentially when you use this kind of companies. So if you're surveying your own audience, it makes so much sense, you know. So you know who you're surveying. If you're surveying like execs, you might want to use like a panel company because like they will have more success in getting you respondents than you would on your own. I think the only time you will have some success is if your own audience is made up of execs. If not, you have to like use like a panel company. Then the next thing we have to talk about is so after you do that, then you have like distribution. So you're going to like obviously use your own audience, your own platforms, to like distribute your survey. You're going to like look at places like industry communities. The reason why I always happen like industry specific places, because like you don't want to use a spray and pray approach. The more you get out of industry specific places, the higher the chances that somebody that is like very focused on getting an Amazon gift card out of you will take your survey. So I always advise stick to industry communities like top of the funnel. Just share your survey there. You know that okay, yes, if I'm surveying people that like SEO, I can get people like SEO from like top of the funnels channel, top of the funnel, right? In one of the channels, people can respond, and I know that like okay, they're part of the audience I'm looking to survey. If you have partners in your industry, look to your partners. For Office Otter, we have partners, right? And we linked on those partners. You can also do like influencers, right, in your space. For example, if someone like Eddie of very good content shared like a survey, the amount of content people that will take that survey is going to be a lot, you know, or John Bonini, for example. So you can lean on like industry influencers. Apart from your platform, these are things you can do. Okay, copy and design. So since you're sharing this yourself, if you have partners, you want to make it very easy for them to share your survey. So planning like copy, say you want them to share 3 times a week, writing out the copy and the design for this ahead of time is a very good idea, so that when the survey is live, you're not trying to come up with, oh, I have to create copy and design to send to partner A, and he has to share it by tomorrow. So doing this ahead of time will save you so much stress. So doing it for like every place you're going to share your survey ahead of time would save you so much time. One of the things you have to also know when doing surveys is that you need at least 250 responses for data analysis and cross tabulation. I'll talk about that more in the future, but in further slides. But it's just so that when you're analyzing things, you can actually get significant results. Then the next thing I want to talk about is how are you incentivizing your surveys? I think I've mentioned how people get very feral for Amazon gift cards. So this is something that you want to like avoid. So if you incentivize via gift cards, donation to charity, raffle, whatever you're doing, you have to like people want that. But like gift cards are a bit notorious for like bringing in raccoons, right? Who want to like just put whatever answer and just get their $50 Amazon gift card. So for the survey that I did with Office Otter, what I did was I incentivized using donation to charity. I did for each response, we would donate $1 to charity. Then I picked two charities that were related to like the industry, right? So one, since the industry is mainly women, we picked Malala Fund for Education, and then a second charity based in South Africa that helps underprivileged people with job training to join our industry. And in our survey, we gave people the option to pick where they want their $1 donation to go to. So this is another way you can incentivize your survey without having to focus on like having to deal with like the raccoons, the gift card raccoons. Then the next thing you want to do, I want to talk about is how to avoid spam. So the reason why spam is a common thing to say is that again, you might have people that don't fit the profile. When you have like gift cards, it's people want to game the system to like win one of 10 gift cards. Sharing your survey in industry spaces, so it kind of reduces like the amount of people that would see it. So you're sharing it only with people that are in your industry will see it, and incentivizing them differently. And a third thing you can do is to also add qualifying questions to your survey at the beginning, the first 2 or 3 questions. So if a person doesn't answer them rightly, the survey doesn't let them continue. So these are like ways you can try to like mitigate spam. But at the end of the day, you still have to do data cleaning. But reducing the amount of spam you get is very important for this process.
Real quick, I'm sorry, you cut out for just a second there. Could you, you mentioned the idea of doing like a direct incentive, like if you fill this out, you get a gift card, or having it like a drawing where you win, you can win one of 10 gift cards. Would you recommend that strategy or no? Oh shoot, I think we maybe lost Nneka. Let's see if she comes back. Sorry, y'all, for some of the technical difficulties here. Hopefully we can get her back and wrap up the session here. Let's give it just a minute. Oh, unfortunately, it looks like we lost Nneka. So apologies about the delays here. We've never had this happen before in the middle of a session. So let's see. I'll see if she comes back here. We'll give her a minute or so to see if she's able to get reconnected, and then if that works out, hopefully we can resume. But if not, we may need to postpone or reschedule this one. So yeah, give us just a moment here, and we'll see if we can pick things back up. All right, y'all. Unfortunately, it looks like this might not be so that we resolve quickly. Yeah, looks like we have lost Nneka, and I haven't been able to get in touch with her. So, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to cut this one short today, and we'll probably need to just reschedule, and we can kind of resume this session at a later date. Apologies that we didn't get through the whole session today. I guess this is one of the downsides of doing the live stream, the live session, is that there are opportunity for such a scenario. Hold on just a moment here. It looks like maybe we do have Nneka is back. Nneka, I'm gonna go ahead and add you in here and we can see how things are going.
Oh, sorry about that.
Shoot. Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, we just lost you again.
Oh wow. Do you still have my slides?
I think you'll have to re-upload those. They're not on the thing anymore. If we want to try it really quick, why don't we try turning off the cameras for a second, and then if you can upload your slides, we can try resuming.
Okay, let me do this. Oh, this is already here.
Okay. All right, so we've got this. Okay, so then, all right, we'll try to pick things up where we left off. Again, thanks to everyone for hanging in there with us, and yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, it goes better this time. All right, go ahead, Nneka. Sorry.
Yeah, so I talked about where you'll be distributing your survey, right? I don't know if everybody got that part. So like, okay, so I'm just going to continue run this from the top, this one. So for distribution, right, you have to like use your platforms. That will be your website. You can put a banner on your website. You can use your email your newsletter to like let people know that if you're surveying your audience, like take your survey, your social media platforms. You can lean on industry influencers, like I mentioned before. Like I mentioned, the examples of John Bonini, if he shares like a survey, it has like a lot of people will take that survey, right? Or lean on partners in your industry and then share them in industry specific communities and spaces to avoid people that are not in your industry, like to avoid chances of spam. Then the copy for your survey and the design, do that ahead of time. So you need to like design for your different platforms and different partners and all that to like make the process of like sharing your getting responses easier. So you don't have to run helter skelter when it's time to like share the survey, or like your partner needs like something to like help them share the survey. So this is what you do. Design the visuals to go with it. A partner might share it like 3 times a week. So you have to like design, okay, 3 different copies, 3 different designs. Do that for each partner. Do that for your social media platforms that you're on. Do that for like the community spaces you're on. Just keep doing it to like get as many to cover your bases. And I said you need to like get 250 responses. That's the minimum you need so you can get significant results when you're doing data analysis. I'll talk about data analysis in a few slides. And then how to avoid spam. The way you incentivize your survey can like bring can prompt people to like want to like take the survey, people who are not in your audience, the audience you're surveying. So you can like add qualifying questions to your survey to limit the spam. You can share it exclusively in your industry spaces so that people that are not in the industry can't see it or take it, just to reduce spam. The reason why I talk about reducing spam is that the more spam responses you have, the more it will cost to clean the data before you start your analysis. Now, let me go down to how to incentivize your survey. The way you can incentivize your survey, you can do that via gift cards, but gift cards come with the problem of people who are not in the audience you're surveying, trying to like game your survey to get the gift card. So what I did for mine is using like $1 donation to charity, in which case $1 you really can't gain that, right? Because you're not gaining any benefits from it. So we picked charities that were relevant to our industry, and then we used that to told during the promotion. We said for every response we get, we'll donate $1 to charity. We got 529 responses in 4 weeks, complete responses in 4 weeks. So by doing this, you can kind of like reduce like spam. Then how long will your survey run? So you can do your survey to run from anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, right? But since one of the things I saw with my survey was that we got more responses in the first 2 weeks than in the last 2 weeks. So you have to plan to hit the ground running with the survey, push in the first 2 weeks to get as many responses as possible before people get like response fatigue. So in the next slide, I want to talk about how you can do design your survey, so survey writing and launch. So here is where you kind of like get time to get into the heart of the topic. So you start with ideation. So you take that topic you first found and break that into areas that you need to cover. For example, for the Office Otter report, it was state of administrative professionals. I knew I wanted to like talk about, I wanted to like find, I want to talk about job satisfaction, salary, benefits that admins get at work, benefits they want, employee recognition, all that. So I took out those areas and then we broke down those areas into questions. You know, what benefits do you want? Do you get at work currently? What benefits do you want your employer to give you? You know, so to see if there's any disconnects there. So you break down these things into questions, and don't worry about being perfect here. Just try and get as many questions as possible, and don't forget to like add qualifying questions at the top. This would prevent people that are not in the audience you want to survey from taking the survey. Now you can also use writing questions. Writing questions are like when you answer questions where you don't give the audience an option, so they give you their own answers directly. So these writing questions can be very powerful because you can basically like showcase audience answers and things like that. But you have to use it sparingly because first of all, like if you use it too much, it makes your survey longer, and it becomes a nightmare when you're trying to do data analysis. So reduce the number of this you do, but you can use like 2 or 3 of it for like impact. Then editing your survey, right? So when you get like at our survey, we had like almost 90 questions, and we end up with like less than, I think, 50 or so. So this is the time we take your time to like reduce the questions you're asking. Some questions would have been asked in like 2 different ways. So reducing that, like this is when you reduce that, and this is when you begin to like get clear with your questions. You know, you don't want people to misunderstand you and answer the question in a different way, because again, it's not like you're having a conversation with them. So you want to be very clear with your questions and how you ask them. So you don't want anything that will affect the data you get at the end. Try to keep your questions very tight and under 15 minutes. So because the longer somebody has to invest in your survey, the more they will be reluctant to take it. So you want to keep your questions as little as possible, and so that people won't have objections to taking it. If you're asking somebody to like invest 10 minutes, it's much easier than asking them to invest 20 minutes. So that's another thing to think about. Then go into your survey software and program your survey and the answers, and then your team should, everybody on your team should test it, both on mobile devices, on different computers, to be sure that there are no issues, just to make sure that wherever people find your survey, they can take it, whether they're on mobile, on their laptop, or on a tablet. So testing this is a very good idea. Then before you launch your survey, right, if you're going to be using different influencers and partners and communities, try and assign them like unique codes, right? as marketers, we like to track everything. So assigning them unique codes will help this will help you look at, okay, who gave me the most responses. Maybe next year I can go straight to this person and things like that. So you can like track, okay, where are my responses coming from? Do I even need partners? If, for example, most of the responses came from your own platforms, then you don't need partners, for your next survey. So these are things you can do. Then finally, like and then you launch your survey. Once you've launched your survey, right, it's going to be like a brief 2 to 4 weeks where you don't have any major thing to do. When like your social media manager is the one that is pushing and promoting the survey in different areas, right? Some of your team is going to be less busy. This is the time you create the distribution and repurpose strategy that's going to bring you those links, right? And going to get you that traffic you want. So you start with your platform, right? So my plan here is always to use a problem solution approach, right? So your own platform, your blog, social media pages, and your email newsletters are where you can distribute content. The partners that you used and your influencers, you can pitch them if they have newsletters, podcasts, blogs. Then you go on down to like those community spaces you used before, the industry spaces like blogs, podcasts, and webinars. What you're doing here is making a note, making a list of these people who to contact, start creating like pitches for these people, right? So you can reach out to them once it's time to once your report is live. And then you start looking at things like adjacent, like industries that are like close to yours. For example, if you're a content marketing agency, for example, that did a survey, and you find that, okay, yeah, when it comes to employment, content marketing people have this issue that relates to employment. You could look at HR websites, like Greenhouse or people like Workable, right? To basically talk about this guest post about this issue that's affecting content marketers, because you have a higher chance of getting in because this is backed by data. So one of the strategies I usually use is to find problems, right, from the report and then provide answers to them, provide solution. So for me, when I'm doing this, the first thing I focus on for my platform is things that fit into my content themes. So the content themes on your website, you don't want to go outside of that, deviate from that, because you want to keep everything to yourself. So for example, at Office Otter, we have like things around admin help. So for us, we did something about certifications, the reason why they don't get them, which is like they don't know which ones to take for their experience level. They don't have time. The jobs doesn't support. So what we did was to create a guide that covered everything like this. Interviewed people that had certifications, interviewed certifying bodies in the industry, even give them templates to ask their manager for support to cover this. So when you're pitching other places that are not your platform, then you can use other things you find that are not in your content teams, right? Keep your content teams for yourself. Podcast, you can have someone from your team go on the podcast, talk about how your report is going to help the industry. So at this stage, all you're doing is identifying the different places you can distribute all this. Okay, this whole place, we can pitch these people. So all you do in this stage is identify where everything is going to go. And then, because once your report is live, then you can begin to look at, okay, we can talk about this topic from the report here. So just having this done beforehand can be very helpful in getting very helpful once the report is done. So that way you don't have to start from scratch. So when your survey is done, the next thing we're going to do is the data analysis. The most common form, right, is cross-tabulation. So you can either you can clean your data, then do cross-tabulation. So cross-tabulation is when you analyze a data point like employee recognition against another one, like say job satisfaction. So this is to like see if there's any relationship, right? So if you use a paid survey tool, they already do this, so it makes it so much easier for you to pick up. Then because like your what goes in your report is much different from what you find during the data analysis. You have to turn these data points into data stories that you can tell. And to get data stories, right, you need something that is interesting, right? So data stories are like interesting conclusions based on 2 data points. So take that employee recognition and satisfaction. You can ask yourself things like, the people who are recognized at work report having higher job satisfaction. Your data can tell you, okay, yes, people who are recognized at work report having, like, say, 75% more job satisfaction than people who are not recognized at work. That is a data story. That tells people that this is interesting, that companies need to recognize their workers for their workers to have more job satisfaction. So that is one story you can tell in your report. So the key thing about picking data stories, right, is knowing your audience. Always, like, if you know your audience, you know something that will be interesting to them, right? Something that they can always that would appeal to them. For example, when I was at Office Otter, we had this question about certification. We had an assumption that people who have certifications earn more, but the data did not support that. The data said there was no relation at all. There was no significance. So what we did when we came to like presenting the report, we realized that, oh, here are reasons that we're finding out that are common across this industry. That's an industry-wide problem, which is like employers are not giving the people in our industry the budgets to, like, continue their education. Employers are not giving, they don't even have time, So these are the things that we chose to present instead. Knowing that this is an industry-wide problem, it makes sense to present it compared to saying, oh, there is no correlation at all between getting certification and earning more money. So that is one thing. Then the next thing is like data presentation. So we tend to rely on graphs and charts, but that shouldn't be the only way you present your data. If you keep presenting data in this way, just these 2 ways, your report will look very boring. So this is why I say it's very important to work with a graphic designer or someone who does visualization, so that they can visualize your data in interesting ways and make it interesting for people to read. And then we have misrepresentation. I don't know if you've seen things where people would like say something that the data doesn't say. Trying to avoiding this is like so important, because like the reason why original research is so successful is because of the fact that it tends to be very transparent and honest. So you don't want to do anything that would jeopardize this reputation it has. Because if you do, it won't have as much impact as you hoped for. So don't select the data, don't exaggerate, say what it says, and keep the buck moving. And the next thing I want to talk about, since we have a few minutes to go, is writing the report itself. So when you're writing your report, unlike blog posts, this is so much different. And report is different. Writing a research report is different from writing a blog post, but it can be done. If you have a content writer, they can learn to do this. So I have a course that aims to turn people from show people differences between this and turn them into like people who can write research reports. But the first thing is this: your language and tone should be formal, right? So if you don't have any relationship with your audience, right, no existing relationship at all, you want to keep the language formal. But if you have like a relationship, say like the audience you surveyed are your audience, you want to use a semi-formal tone. And because in research reports, you don't address your audience directly, you won't use you the way you use you in blog posts. And then the next thing is using industry lingo. For example, if you're a content person and you release a report that doesn't sound like it was written by a content person, it damages the credibility of the report. So using the same language that your audience uses when writing your reports makes it more credible. Then when presenting your data, use fractions and percentages. So use things like 1 in 5, 1 in 7, or 68%, and always try to simplify the fractions. If you have like 2 in 8, it can be simplified to like 1 in 4. So always simplify things to make it easy for people that read your reports to understand it. Then when writing your data stories, be brief, concise. So this is a bit hard for me because I do long form content. So there are times where like the data is more impactful with the visuals, right? So you don't need to say so much. So always like exercise like discretion on where you are. Like if this data can like stand, or if people can understand it with just the visuals alone, then don't write too much. Don't write more content, and always work with a graphic designer to do the visuals for your reports. The reason why I keep hammering on this is because we didn't, and it took time away from us being able to execute our distribution plan properly. So this is something that you should work with, so they can give you some time, and you can jump into distribution. And one thing I also say is don't change the answers your respondents give in your in the writings. Sometimes not everybody is going to be like a writer and give you like those responses, but like when you change it, it kind of ruins your credibility, because if the person that wrote in that response sees it, they think that you're not being transparent, and you don't want to have the reputation of not being transparent in your data. Then the final thing I would say is, when working with numbers, always round up to the nearest whole number. So like I said, 16.8 is harder to read than 17. So it's perhaps just round up to 17 to make it easy for your audience to understand the data fast and at a glance. Then let me talk about a few considerations you should think about before you launch your reports, right? So here is something that that was very important in earning us like a lot of the backlinks and driving traffic. It was getting the report. So depending on what's the goal you're trying to achieve with your report will determine whether you should get it or not. If you're doing awareness, then it may not be worth it to like get your report at all. But if you're trying to drive revenue, it might be worth getting your report. But you also have to consider something, that writers will want to link to your report. And if you have a hard gate there, it will discourage many writers from linking to your report, which means you will not get as many backlinks as you want. So basically look at your goals and pick out the 3 most important ones you're trying to achieve. So for me at Office Otter, I wanted to have like the best of both worlds. So I went to the soft gate, in which case like I had the report ready, people could like read it, but you couldn't download it. To download it, you had to give me your email address. Then you also have to look at SEO consideration and making your report searchable on Google. You can use like in the URL, you can use the name and use something like statistics or state of, because these are what writers search for when they are looking for something to link to. So this can be something you do. Content you can create from your report like this can be like 20 or 30 statistics about this industry, like something like 30 statistics about administrative professionals is something that I know that can get us backlinks going forward, right? So here is something you have to think about. Will I consolidate all the research I do on this page? My advice is to do so, because like it's a very easy way to build authority on one page. So Andy Presodina said something that he has been doing his blogging research for over 10 years. And he said one of his biggest regrets was not building the authority for 10 years on that one page. So it's worth consolidating, like, okay, all the research should be on one page so you can build authority quickly and as you go. For the launch of your reports, can you like hijack a holiday that is relevant to your industry? For us, we use the World Admin Day, right? As it is to launch our survey because it's relevant to our industry. We can get some amazing PR and things like that. And when people are complaining of like, oh, companies are just doing lip service, we're differentiating ourselves by like putting out something that is so helpful to everybody. So think about, oh, can I do this on a holiday that is important or relevant to the industry? And then again launch date. If your report is not ready, do you want to do teasers or like do a staggered launch where you do like release a page here and stuff to like build awareness, get emails so people can like get the report sent to them and things like that. So you have to like think about different ways to do your launch. So this way you're getting people straight into your ecosystem. People are like, okay, yeah, being aware of your report. People are giving you their emails and things like that. But something that is like very useful, like a report, people can give you their emails. So depending on what because where you have like 9 months to get the juice out of the report.
Nneka, sorry, we lost you there for a second. You said depending on blank.
Okay, so I mean, depending on like if your report is ready to go, like if the report is not ready, you want to do like staggered like a staggered launch whereby you're doing teasers, right? And you're like trying to get people into your ecosystem. Like depending on what you need to like think about the launch, right? How it's going to go, can we meet up and all that. So these are different things to think about. And then I said the best time to launch the report is Q1 so that you have enough time. You have like 10, 11 months to get the juice out of the content assets, right? So if you can't do Q1, I would advise doing the first 2 months of Q2 so that you can at least like make the report work for itself. Because if you release it in Q3, in a couple of months, it's now still, you have to like do a new report. So the earlier you can launch your report, the more you can get the juice and the backlinks from it. Final steps, launch your report. Now that you have your report in your hands, you can then go into it and start identifying the issues, right? And then start adding solutions and then start implementing the plan you came up with. Start pitching the industry podcasts, the industry blogs, the adjacent industries, that is relevant to, for example, I had one of the people I wanted to pitch was Nectar HR because they did employee recognition and engagement. And we had data that was going to be relevant to them. And that was a place we could pitch a guest post to get backlinks and things like that. So these are like different strategies you can implement to get the best from your report. And finally, rework your process because the process is not going to be as smooth as it's going to be as as crazy as my internet, right? But you would survive, and you would actually like want to go back and mitigate a few things to make sure that when you're doing this the next time, right, that this is super helpful, that you're able to like not run into issues you ran into the first time. And that is everything. So thank you for having me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I do have a research report writing course coming up. If you would like to be notified about that, let me know. I do offer like a bunch of services related to like original research services. Tyler?
Amazing. First of all, Nneka, thank you so much for pushing through some of the technical difficulties. Thanks to everyone who hung out with us and hung in there. I think this was an awesome session. I mean, there's probably a million questions that folks have because it's such a detailed process, but you covered so many great details and tips. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for covering everything.
Yeah, and I'm also in top of the funnel. So if you have like any questions, you can go in like in the we can have like a announcement thing where you can just like put it in and I can come answer that. So even if you don't get questions here, we can put in questions and answer them in the Slack channel.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. Do you have a couple minutes? I know we have at least one question in the chat here. Do you have a couple more minutes to answer questions?
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, let's do that. We won't take too much longer because I know we're already over time. Kalapo, hopefully I'm getting the name correct. Someone might object to the sample size being too small. How do we respond to that? Yeah, you mentioned a couple times this idea of a minimum sample size. I believe you said 250. Give us some more thoughts about the sample size.
Okay, so when you're doing when you're doing when you're doing analysis, right? You want to cross check okay, so for each answer, right? Like you have different subgroups, right? So for example, when you talk about recognition, the answers will be like somebody will say, I am recognized at work. Yes, I receive recognition at work. Somebody will say no. Will say yes. Somebody will say no. Somebody will say prefer not to answer, right? Population in this, when you compare it to another data points that has like 3 or 4 subgroups, you won't come up with anything significant, right? So it's why most people, you can get away with 200, but if you want to really make sure that you're safe, most people aim for 250. So when we were doing our survey, we had like minimum response for us was 250, right? Because that's like the bottom, whereby you're safe and you're sure of getting significant responses. You don't want to go through the hassle of this process because it's very involved, and then you don't get significant data during the analysis. So it's why I recommend 250. Is why when it comes to people that do this, that other people that do this, will tell you try and get 250 responses.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think you hit on something there, which is, it ultimately comes down to how you're planning to analyze and sort of how granular you want to be able to slice and dice that data at the end, right? So if you've got a bunch of different groups and you're trying to measure and compare each of them, then you're going to need a higher sample size than if you've got, one group and you're just trying to get a general answer for the same question.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that was the question that I saw in the chat. I didn't see any others. Real quick, I'll just mention, Peter, thanks for the feedback there. Definitely understand and agree. We with the technical difficulties, especially, there's so much more we could have gone into on today's session. So maybe we'll break this down more in the future and dive into some of these topics a little bit more closely.
Yes.
And then Jacob was asking about any examples. I know, Nneka, kind of the main example that we've discussed is the one that you did for Office Otter and the satisfaction survey for them. So we can go ahead and share that in Tofu as an example, just to give you some concept on, or some context on some of the work that she's done in the past and how it's gone.
Yeah, Jacob, for like this, for this survey I kept talking about, in the first month of publication, we got we increased traffic by 218%, and then before we launched the survey, before we launched the report, the domain rating for this website was 10 on Ahrefs. A month after launching, the domain rating went up to 30, and we only had just 1 month to implement some of the strategies I talked about for distribution. So I keep, every time, that was before my contract ended with them. So I keep thinking, like, what if I had like the rest of the year to like really, really go in depth, right? So I would have been able to like move the needle so much more than what I was able to accomplish in just 1 month.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. Well, once again, I just want to say thank you so much, Nneka, for taking the time to join us today. Thanks for hanging out with us and pushing through the technical difficulties. And thanks to all the folks who joined us live and stayed on through the stream and asked questions and all that great stuff. One more final shout out to Top of the Funnel, our free community. If you're not already a member, pop in over there. And as Nneka mentioned, she is a member as well. So if you have questions for her about this or want to follow up on that example of a report that she will be sharing, you can find that inside our Slack community. I think that's it for today. Thank you again, Nneka, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day. Cheers.